Okay, I see that we have already some people that have connected.
Nice.
And yes, good evening, everyone. Uh, my name is Arnis Balčus. I'm the editor of FK Magazine. And yes, it is my pleasure to welcome you tonight for this event that we are having, a talk with female photographers, female photojournalists. First of all, I want to say that we are doing this together with Shklo. It's a platform in Belarus about photography and visual arts. And especially when I thank Maxim Sarchau. This is the reason also why we are seeing him now. Maxim will also join us later when we will have also a discussion. Because yeah, the way it's going to work, that first, photographers will talk about their work. They're going to show some images, and at the end, we also will have some discussion. And of course, everyone who is watching us is also welcome to ask questions in comments, and we will try to answer them. Also, at certain point, of course, we might hear Russian language, so don't worry. I will try to translate because it might not be easy, maybe for everyone to explain everything in English. And yes, just a little bit also of the context. Yes, the idea, of course, came to do this because this is what we see now on media. We see images, we see videos from Belarus. Also in Latvia, it's still on news every day. And of course, it is also quite interesting that to know who are the people who are actually shaping the way we see what is going on. And as we all know, the events that are happening now, and also led by opposition, which is also kind of represented by female politicians, as well as women in white, like people who go to the streets and are kind of symbolically also the face of these peaceful protests. And it is also interesting as well that in Belarus, you might imagine that photojournalism, like as historically, is also men's world, that it's run by men only, but it's not the case. So we have also quite a lot of actually female photographers that are working. And yeah, what is of course most important, to hear, people who are actually doing this, because we see images, but we haven't heard that many stories about people, what is going on. And probably you are the people who have seen the most. You have seen everything being also on both sides. This is not just like, there won't be only images from opposition, as I understand, but we also see images from the position. So, and I guess this is also, we will have many questions tonight. Where does, what is the role of photographer? Is it easy to stay actually neutral, in this all events, and so on. Before I introduce, I also want to say that we are also made a campaign. So we welcome you to make a small donation or large donation if you can. So just go to fkmagazine.lv. There is a post about this event, and inside that you will find information. So, and all proceedings that we will raise will go straight to all those three photographers. So this is, yeah, not some bullshit charity. Everything that we will raise goes directly to photographers. As obviously we know, we can imagine that being a female photojournalist, it's probably not the most well-paid job in the world. So everything, could also help the cause. And yes, so we have three photojournalists that will talk tonight. Olga Shukaila. Hi, Olga.
Hello.
We have Tanya Capitonova. Hi. And Nadia Bujan. yeah,
Hi.
who just came out of prison, yeah, an hour ago. So we're gonna hear that story as well. So okay, now I would like to give floor. Yeah, maybe who will start? Tanya, are you ready to
Yeah,
start?
I can.
Okay.
Do you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I will. Yeah. I guess first I have to introduce myself. My name is Tanya Capitonova. I'm 27 and I'm from Minsk. And I work as a photographer for 5 years. And I used to make lots of articles and photos about culture, activism, different reportages, and so on. And half a year ago, I decided to try myself in news photography. Yeah, and in my presentation, I'm going to show you some photos from August 9 till tonight. I will share some photos and tell some stories, and I hope you can find something interesting and new. So this photo was made in the morning on August 9 when the elections of president were going on. And it's a typical story that every time government tries to invite people to vote using this kind of they just sell different fruits, vegetables, and all this stuff on a very cheap price, and people come here and feel that they have like holiday. And yeah, it's funny how it looks. Oops, sorry. Yeah, and police officers also don't mind to come and use their time. This photo was made in the school where I was voting, and as far as I know, more than 1,000 votes were falsified and were given to Alexander Lukashenko. And in the evening, police trucks came to the school and they were exploding grenades and so on. And yeah, they were just frightening people. This photo was also made on August 9, and this is a local artist, Kuzmich, and he came to his school where he was voting, and he made such a performance where he drew this picture, and he was showing that this is his kind of protest against all the elections. And in one interview, he said that he is not against one particular candidate. He is against all culture of elections we have here. Yeah, and in the evening, when internet was shut off, we didn't have internet in the whole country for 3 days, and we called each other and we were telling news. And I heard that in the center of Minsk, there were lots of police officers. And when I came there, I just couldn't believe what I saw, because there were so many of these men in black, and they were having this stuff, and there was terrible noise, and everywhere where I looked, I saw them. They were just everywhere, and there were all these trucks and all kinds of guns and weapons and so on. And I was walking alone, and then I joined two girls, and they were showing hearts and to these guys, and they were saying that they loved them and so on. They were trying to show them that they have some support and that they should change their position and go to the side of people. They were surprised because they maybe have never had such a attention to them. But we decided to leave when these guys started to say rude words to these girls, and we thought that there may be some conflict. Yeah, and also at that evening, these guys were shooting two people and they were exploding grenades and so on, but I wasn't there at those moments. I only heard about that. But on the next day, I saw and felt that it was just in the evening, and in this photo I wanted to show you that all kinds of people came to protest, not came, are coming, all kinds, even those who have broken legs. Yes, and on the second day, August 10, I came to another place, and there were lots of people. They were just staying in their cars and staying in the whole streets. And as far as I know, there were about maybe 10,000 people, and all of them were peaceful demonstrators. They were not doing anything rude, anything bad. They were just singing songs, laughing, dancing, and so on. And then I heard that a grenade exploded. I decided to come closer to that place, and I saw these people. I heard that the night before they were shooting to people, but I could not believe. I could not believe that they would be shooting to peaceful protesters, but they did it, and it was very scary. And after taking this photo, I made maybe 5 steps back, and a grenade exploded near me, and I was deafened on my left ear, and just couldn't understand what was going on. So all the streets were in this fog, and everything was exploding. It was very noisy. It was horrifying. They were shooting to people. I heard that. Maybe after 5 minutes, I started hearing again, but then they started to use gas, which was making our eyes and noses just exploding again. So I decided to leave this place because I thought that it can be really dangerous to my health to stay there. Yeah, this is at the same place, and this is the most rude what people made. They just took this stuff and put it in the streets. Yeah. This is how people were running after hearing grenades and feeling gas. That evening, those people in black shot the first man, and he died quickly. This is August 13, if I'm not mistaken, and this is the prison at Kristuna Street, where people were tortured, almost killed. As far as I know, there were about 7,000 people arrested in the whole country, but I do not remember how many people were in this prison. But we all had stories that there were rooms for 5 people, but there were 50 people in one room. And all these people are relatives and friends of those people who were arrested, and they came to this place to find some information about them and support. But we heard that every time people were screaming in the streets, saying some names and so on, these men in black were beating arrested people even more. And this woman standing in front, she was very desperate. Yeah, and you can see this famous Автозак, a truck where people are collected to prisons. And these people in black are OMON. This is special forces of police, and everybody says that they're just crazy. They have no limits in beating people. Yes, and at the same day, after all this very sad news, after all these fights, all these tortures, and all the horrible things which were happening 2 and 3 days before, women of Belarus decided to make this march of solidarity, and they came in white dress to one of the squares, and they took flowers, and they just took each other hand in hand, and they were standing. It was the beginning of another wave of peaceful protests. After that, maybe for a week, all day long in all parts of the city, you could see women in white, and they were standing with flowers, and they were waving these flowers, smiling, and yeah, it was very beautiful. And of course, this Автозак came again, and police asked us to leave, but there were no arrested people that day. And this is my personal proud. This is a protest of teachers, and here you can see my teacher of Russian language in my gymnasium, and I'm very proud that she did not take part in falsifications in elections, and she came to the square to say that she did not do it. I was very happy to see her there. Yeah, and this is some group of artists is standing with this weapon stuff with roses, and at the backyard you can see the Palace of the Republic. Nobody likes it here. The sign says that teachers are against lies. Yeah, and they're standing in the square, and the background you can see Дом правительства. Well,
building.
How do you say?
Parliament building.
Yeah, thank you. Parliament building, and this is the place where people used to meet again all days after that. Yeah, and this is another very important event when factory workers came to the streets and they said they are against these falsifications. All the days before, women came to the streets, teachers, singers, I would say people from culture sphere. And when factory workers came, everybody felt that we have a huge support. And it's funny that it's written, we are workers of Minsk truck factory, and we are not 20 people, we are 16,000 people, because the day before, our President Alexander Lukashenko said that there were only 20 people from this factory who were protesting. But they came and they showed that there are a lot of them. Yeah, and it's also, I adore in some way these days in Minsk, because I have never seen so many people, and I have never looked in their eyes so often, and we have so many different beautiful people. I'm very impressed. Yeah, and for you to know, before the summer we were not so united, I would say, and we were not smiling so much, and nowadays we just want to hug each other. Yeah, this is the same House of Parliament, and all these workers also came here. Yeah. Yeah, this is August 16, the day of the biggest meeting of peaceful protesters in Minsk. And once again, different people came here, and even those who, are going on these sticks, and they look like 3 or 4 meters. Yeah, this is just a lady going under flag and maybe trying to hide from heat because it was very hot that day. And probably you saw pictures from that event where there were about 200,000 people in one place, and maybe you saw this stela with the black, red, white, white, red, white flag. And I was there when this guy was trying to climb down, and it was also very interesting to look how everybody was helping him. There were people on the ground, and then they stood on each other, and they were giving him some stuff that he could use to get down. It was very supportive. I adored Belarusians at that moment even more, even though I thought that it's impossible. Yeah, this is my friend. He's from European country, and he came here with his wife, who is from Belarus, and he was also taken to jail on August 10 when they were going home with his wife and their friends. There was quite a famous video where a group of 6 or 5 people trying to go home, and they're going inside, and maybe 6 or 8 OMON, the special police officers, are going with them, and they're beating them and so on. And it's very ironical that 2 days before I met him, and he asked whether foreign people can be arrested here. And I said him, no, usually they're not arrested, and usually all these councils take care of them, and foreign people are not taken to jail during protests. And 2 days after, he was taken to jail, and he was tortured, he was beaten, and his council didn't help him. This is that famous House of Parliament, and there is a statue of Lenin there, and I have never seen that so many posters can be put on this monument. It was just unbelievable. It was this day, August 16, was the most free day in Belarus, I would say, in Minsk. And this is this Lenin cozy. Maybe he's dreaming about free Belarus. Yeah, and this girl, she decided to came to this protest also, and she was in jail. And I guess you heard that Belarusian protests are the cleanest in the world, and that's how, because people just come and take all the stuff with them. Yeah, this is police officers, and they usually do not like to be photographed. And maybe after a week after our protests, governmental protesters also decided to join. I would say they were pushed to join. And it's also funny that at the day when they decided to protest, rains started in Minsk. And if before all the days were sunny and very pleasant, at the day when these people decided to show that they support Lukashenko, it was very bad weather. Yeah, this man says that Lukashenko is our president. Yeah, and I'm finishing my presentation soon, because these photos are from this evening, when this photo was made when my colleague Nadia was already arrested. It was made on one square where people of different confessions decided to meet and show that they are also not supporting all the events which are going on with elections. Yeah, and this guy is showing an icon to the police officer, and he says that it is not legal to stay in this place. And everybody was laughing, like, come on, we came to church and you're not letting us do it. Yeah, and this is also a peaceful protester. Yeah, and then all the people came to that main square of Minsk, and there was already special forces, and yeah, this is the last photo. And at some moment I understood that all the exits were full with these people. There were police officers, there were special forces among, there was army, if I'm not mistaken, and all of them. I guess there was around 1,000 people on the square, and at some moment these police officers started taking all the men to Avtozaks. and they did not touch women, and also women could just leave. And this time, all the men were taken quite peacefully. They were not tortured. They could not. They could even make some photos from these trucks and send photos to their relatives and so on. Oops. Yeah, and I guess it was made to show like another version of events, and I'm more than sure that quite soon we will see some videos on governmental TV which will show that police in Minsk is the best police ever. Yeah, I guess that's all the photos which I wanted to show you this time.
Okay, thank you, Tanya. I think we will have a discussion at the very end, but before I would like to also ask you maybe a very quick question. For those who don't know the context, maybe you can explain, you know, what kind of media you're working for, and what is based, and also what kind of, you know, do you have, like, are there many photographers, you know, what is your kind of schedule, you know, how do you, you know, decide where to go? Is there some kind of editor or?
Yeah, in general, I'm a freelance photographer, but during this, during half a year, I work for Belarusian Polish TV called Belsat, and it is not legal in Belarus because it shows different aspects of our country. Yeah, it's quite dangerous, I would say. Yeah, and during these protests, we work with 3 more photographers, so we are 4. And I would not say that I work every day because we change. And yeah, we have some editors who help us to find stories, and we also propose something, and it's really nice to work in this team.
Okay, thank you very much, Tanya.
Thank you.
I would like to now ask Olga. Maybe you can present us your work.
Hello, everybody. My name is Olga Shukaila. I'm 32 and I work and live in Minsk, Belarus. I work for the biggest independent online media called Tutbay, and I work there for 6 years. And a few years I work like a photo editor or head of photo department, and partly I work as a photojournalist. But now I'm just a photojournalist, so I cover all kinds of news almost every day. It's political, social, culture topics. From time to time, I took a picture from a new smartphone, some fences in the city. From time to time, I take a picture of our president. And sometimes I work abroad for my media. And usually I work from Monday to Friday, and I have 2 free days when I spend it for myself. But now it's my 19th working day, and without any holidays, and it's really difficult, mostly physically, because I don't have enough time for rest and sleep. And all my colleagues, we are tired, but we still continue to work. In my photo department, we have head of photo department and 4 photographers. So we have 2 men and 2 women, and we try to cover all kinds of news, all kinds of events that happens in the city or somewhere in another city not far from the capital. Hopefully we have photographers on the regions, so it's a bit easier for us to work. So our photo editor, he decided who will cover this event and who will cover another event. So we may change, and if we understand that it's something big or maybe dangerous event during these days, we may work in a pair. And for example, today we had 2 photographers, and one of them was detained. So, and one another continue to work. I think it's a good idea to work in a pair. According to the role of photographers during these days, I think it's really important as in another days. But now maybe our photo become a symbol of these events and this political and economic situation, and we need only 3 seconds to understand pictures, and it's faster than understand text or video. So I think that here, yes, our pictures for all photographers are really important today. And as I hope, we try people to see the reality, because many topics that we cover, you couldn't see this on TV. And this is our problem, because people who don't use internet, they live, as I understand, in different reality. And at my work, sometimes I see 2 different group of people, and it's really difficult to understand what people think about situation in the country. So maybe I'll show you my pictures. Just a second. Do you see? So I'd like to start with this photo. You may see men who are waiting for put a mark on a paper. They're waiting for the vote, and this is a huge queue for vote. This is the day of election, August 9, and this is really strange situation. It was really strange situation on this place, because there were a lot of riot police among, and a few paddy wagon, after that we call it. So it was really nervous situation here, and head of this vote station, they запретили.
Forbid?
They forbidden to took some pictures inside, and it was like scandal. Police officer beat me a little bit, so it was really nervous and strange situation. But when I saw a lot of a queue for this vote, I understand that this presidential campaign after this day, it will be something nervous and something more protest that I expected before. So this is in the morning, and this is the evening, when a lot of people go to the street, and they try to show their protest about 80% for Alexander Lukashenko. And I was really happy that I was in a really safety place during cover in events on this night, because I was on a hill and I saw like a parrot when I saw some paddy wagons ride from the other side to another, some riot police go from one side of the road to another. And I saw a lot of people from both sides, but mostly I stand on the police territory, somewhere not far from them. And on this night, I feel pretty safety, because riot police that was near me, they're pretty, I don't know, pretty cute, and they were not aggressive, and they call, please do not come to us, stand here, and everything. I understand that everything is pretty okay, but from time to time we had some explosion. Now we saw how stun grenade explosion. So it was a bit nervous, but I feel pretty safe. And one time people decided to switch on a light on their phones to explain that there are no 20 people. It was some thousands people were here in the center of Minsk, and there were a lot of police. A few years ago, maybe 10 or something like this, I took part on historical reconstruction, Napoleonic War. And as for me, it was not really strange to hear a sound of explosion. So I maybe bit ready for that, but I saw a lot of scare in the face of other people, and they were really scared. And when everything is finished on this territory, I saw some injured people. This is one of them. So yeah, I saw some blood on the ground, and it was really really difficult to see and understand that this protest everything not so easy. This is the next day. This is a Monday after election, and when we went to the place, we saw how riot police stop random people, mostly men, and they try ask them to stand like something like this, and many of them were later put on a paddy wagon or in a minibus without numbers. And when we were with my other colleagues, we were a little bit boring, because we don't know that few days later we will see result of this detained. But for us as a photographer, it looks like something ordinary. Oh, okay, this is minibus without numbers. Okay, this is riot police. This is like pretty ordinary situation. This is also some kind of protest of this lady. She sit more than an hour on this bus station, and like waiting for a bus, read some papers, and check how people were detained. This is on the other place. This is mom with her daughter, and they were scared to see a line of riot police. And I understand that for many people in Belarus, this is something like not ordinary to see a lot of police on the street. So this is on Пераможцев Avenue. This is a place where a lot of shops and cafes. So in ordinary life, you may see a lot of people there. They're resting, have fun, and so on. But now there are a lot of riot police, men in black, and people try to protest. They wear applause and shout, "Go away! We are at home. This is our home. We don't want to go home." And we are seeing here. A bit later, on the same place, riot police start to demonstrate their forces, and people try to explain that they're peaceful and they're not aggressive. So you may see like this girl are crying, and she talks something to riot police. I don't remember. And man shows hurt, like a symbol of something good. So, and you may see this pretty famous picture that I took on the second day of protest. I saw a line of people who stand on the avenue, and usually it was a man. But this time I saw 5 women, and I decided to take a picture. I made maybe 8 or 10 clicks, and for the first time they tried to show me some signs and so on, tried to smile. And this photo, one of the last of this series, and I took this picture and I understand, oh, this is nice. And when I sent it to my editors, we decided, oh yeah, really good. And the story is that we haven't internet connection in Minsk for 3 days. So I don't know what happens with this picture during these days. And when on Wednesday I woke up after notification on my smartphone, I saw a lot of messages and notification on my Facebook that people share this photo a lot of time and a lot of publics, and this picture become really famous for this kind of protest. Maybe because you may see not aggressive men, you may see 5 really different women. They come, they are scared. They looks like not protesters, not drug or alcohol addicted people, like we have like president or government television call us. So you may see nice women like your sister, your mother, your neighbor. I don't know. I like this picture too, and I see a lot of interest to this picture from other people, and it's really new and interesting situation for me. This is the next day. This is a protest of women when they decided to wear a white clothes and took a flower. and they tried to explain their peaceful protest. So coronavirus is also here. This is pretty simple picture, but you may see the story about when in IT country switch off the internet and people want to share information because on TV you don't know reality. So this is announcement about events from August 9 to August 10 that some people were injured and it was a protest, but also you may see some different information that 1 people died, 3 people died, 21 people died. So some people tried to write some information on this paper, and it was on the bus station. And yeah, this is the third evening of protest. This is one of the most scared situation for me because I cover these events on бронежилет, a special vest for safety my life, with a helmet, and it was really scared because there are a lot of riot police inside, and some people they call me and my colleagues on their house, and they share an internet connection with us and try to save us. So during these days, we see a lot of solidarity between people, and I feel a lot of respect to all journalists and photographers as well. So also you may see the explosion, the result of the explosion, and people running. And as for me, it was really dangerous. I feel I don't feel safe during this moment, and yeah, this is maybe one of the most horrible moments during those days. But in the morning, you also see the protest of some kind of people from some factories, doctors, and all these protests were really peaceful and nice. But in the evening, you see absolutely different situation when this when doctors put some so injured people from offense isolation center, and the relatives, they're waiting for their relatives, and nobody knows who inside them. But the driver of this car, he tried to call the name of person who are inside. People met their relatives also near offense isolation center, and people who go to the freedom, they told really horrible stories about situation on this building. Yeah, and this picture, this is a result of riot police and other forces. Many people were injured, and they have a lot of bruises on their body. But our president told that about 60% of these images are fake. But I saw it on my eyes, and I was really surprised that after a few days I saw my pictures on this placard, and also some pictures from my colleagues people print it and show to other people. And they call it genocide, because this is really horrible situation when riot police beat random people on the street. It's horrible. This is another part of protest. This is peaceful protest of IT sectors. This is IT specialist near High-Tech Park in Minsk. So, as maybe you know, Belarus calls like IT country. And we have a lot of IT specialists. We have some progressive law for IT. And last day we had not really good news that some companies moved from Belarus to other countries because of situation. And these IT specialists, they protest with keyboards and flowers, and it was really nice. And this is another part of protest. This is factory workers. And I was really surprised that instead of peaceful protest when women wear white clothes and cross the street only on the green light, these factory workers, they decided to go they decided to walk on the road. And I never saw this situation before, and it was really interesting for me to cover this moment. And this is also a protest near our parliament building of our senior. And yeah, in the evening of this day, we saw a lot of placard on a monument of Vladimir Lenin. And I like this picture because this situation is really untypical of when you see a lot of placard, really fun and not so fun on Lenin. And also you may see a lot of people who decided to take a like photo session here. This is a result of riot police work. One people were shot by the police, but for the first time our government told that something were explosion on his hand, but it's not true. And here his funeral, and this is people on the place where it happens, and this is a minute of silence. And you may see this is not all the people at this moment. And this is the first pro-Lukashenko meeting on the parliament buildings, near the parliament buildings. And it was really interesting that internet connection on the meeting, on pro-Lukashenko meetings is really good. But when we cover a protest about opposition, there is no internet connection at all. And so you may see not so much people here. And a bit later on this day, you saw a lot of people go down the main avenue in the city with the big flags, and it was really nice and like national day. This is the next day, and this is a plant worker. So meeting of Alexander Lukashenko for at one of the factory, and people shout, go away for him, and he was a bit surprised maybe. This is also a picture about solidarity, and especially solidarity for ordinary people and journalists. I was really tired covering protest, and car stopped near me, and they decided to pick me up and drove me a little bit, and I took this picture inside the car. And this is also a result of riot police work. This man, you may see a scar after operation, and he was really happy that his heart is in a safe, but he has a problem with lungs, as I remember, and he was only 20 years old. This is people who took part on pro-Lukashenko meetings. You may see a placard, "Lukashenko is our president." And on this, at this moment, people sing a hymn. And I don't know, this is really specific atmosphere of this kind of events, because as a journalist from independent media, I feel a lot of aggression to myself. Someone tried to beat me. Someone tried to call some bad words for me, for my media. And it's really important to not answer to this for the aggression, because I'm not sure that they really understand what happens. And also I can't see happy face on this kind of events. This is also one of the action, one of the meeting of solidarity. That's it. Yeah, this is on this Sunday, when we saw a lot of police in the city. And this is riot police near the Lukashenko's house of Independence Palace, where Lukashenko met with his with other politics. And this is typical Belarusian protest in the evening. It's really peaceful, and it's really fun, and it's really nice when people dance for traditional music, they sing traditional songs. And you understand that our culture is still alive, and people try to explain that we are a nation, that we have a history, we have past, and we have a future, I hope. So that's it.
Well, thank you very much, Olga.
Thank you.
And now I would like to invite Nadia.
Hello.
Hey.
My name is.
We don't see you.
Oh, okay.
Yes, we do.
My name is Nadia Bujan. I'm the National photographer. National, it's the oldest independent newspaper of Belarus, which is only being published online presently. The only one photographer representing our media is me. That's why I have to take photos of all main events in the city. At the moment, I'm working on the news photography entirely. Such an intensive rhyme of work upsets me a little bit, because no time is left for thinking about the project or photo history. This summer is my first experience of the protest photography shooting. Yeah. I will show you some photos and will give comments on the event taking place in Belarus. Okay. First peaceful protest started when two candidates, Sergei Tikhanovsky and Viktor Babarika, had been imprisoned by Lukashenko. According to Belarusian laws, people have no right to gather for public events without government permission. Obviously, officials never permit rally in support of political prisoners. However, our people are amazing, so they came up with different ideas how to drive the coach and for through. For example, while collecting signatures for presidential candidates, future queues began to line up. That was to show that must disagree with the opinion of the authorities and Lukashenko himself. In fact, people were not violating the law on public events. Yet it was the first time special forces appeared on the streets. Premier arrest happened at the end of June. This picture was my opening protest shot. I clearly remember that before the arrest began, police started compressing the crowd from two sides. Police allowed to go away those who were willing to. Thus, my colleagues and I ended up in a police ring. A plump man in civilian clothes approached me and asked, "Are you a journalist? If so, you are allowed to stay here. The only requirement, do not interfere. Don't worry, keep on working, it's your job." That one was the head of the Minsk police by the name Barsukov. I was surprised by his politeness. I immediately remembered the stories of senior colleagues about the unpleasant actions of the police towards journalists. Could you even imagine that only a few minutes after his words, "Don't worry, keep on working calmly," my colleagues were arrested. I was shocked by his blatant lies. This picture during the election campaign in Tikhanovskaya with a joint headquarters traveled around the country and gathered huge crowd of people of her rallies. It's looking something like that. There's photos of arrested in Slutsk. Slutsk is regional town in Belarus. Officials saw how many people were gathering for Tikhanovskaya rallies and began to interfere with that meeting. So in Slutsk, the government suddenly decided to repair the roof of the building, to plant flowers that the service in the city at the site of the rally. The authorities did not give permission to Svetlana to hold the rally at the last moment. People only found out that the event was not sanctioned when they came. Police detained people again for the unauthorized gathering. These are the photos of the 9th of June, or of August, August evening, election day. People understood that the votes had been stolen and came out to the city center with a peaceful protest. People are very angry because they were deceived again. The security forces cut Minsk into several sections, so that people were divided and could not gather in one large crowd. So I found myself in the hottest spot of the evening when I came to the avenue where a crowd of people had gathered, and special forces and all military equipment were already ready for action. From a distance, I heard a loud sound unfamiliar to me. It was a flash grenade. After I got closer, I saw the crowd decided to line up in a chain of people opposite to right the police. It is was noting that the demonstrators were keeping the distance. They stood holding hands and chanted something like, "Shame, Lukashenko, go away. We want a fair election." From time to time, the masked daring guys from the crowd ran up to the cordon. I was calmly taking photos when suddenly a flash grenade exploded somewhere very close. This was probably the first time I got really scared. You don't understand which direction to run after. Due to such actions of the security forces, the crowd became even more angry, but continuing to stand still. To frighten the crowd, ambulances and paddy wagons, автозак, police bus started to drive by. Suddenly, one of the автозак drove into the crowd from behind without slowing down. Everything happened very quickly. I could notice if there were victims of the car hit. Later, it turns out that there were. People at the last moment realized that a military vehicle was driving into them. One part of them scattered to the side. Another angry part of the crowd began to break the windows of the car and jump on it. They tried to stop the car. It all happened at speed. One of the protesters managed to climb onto the cab and hanging in front of the drive. As the car began to pick up speed, he could not resist and fell directly under the wheels of a moving truck. At that moment, I had only one thought: if only he stayed alive. After all, the hot crowd will not forgive death. A man who has just been run over by after dark lies on the ground motionless. A person knew it that evening. This is what was taken to in Minsk the 10th of August. Protesters gathered near a local hypermarket with posters, police with the people. Sometimes they ran out into the roadway, creating a traffic jam. The drivers honked them back, supporting their actions. Also, there were drivers who did not like the behavior of the demonstrators. The protesters started to let the public transport pass. They could stand on the road for a couple of minutes, after which they cleared the road. It was repeating for about an hour or two. I would like to admit that people behaved with restraint. No one had any weapons. Nobody threw stones at cars. There was no damage, broken glass. It was nothing but a peaceful move. At some point, soldiers ran out of the neighboring courtyard and without any warning began shooting at people. I don't know whether the person on the picture was injured or just knocked to the ground. Definitely detained. At the same moment, my colleague, the journalist of the National Natasha Lubnevskaya, was wounded. While I was taking this photo, we were standing on the side marked with West and the press badges. We were in a group of journalists, around 6 or 7 persons, and one of the photographers saw people in military uniform aiming at us. The reliable video proving this fact is available. Why did the military shoot us and civilians? A rubber bullet hit the area near the knee of Natalia. She underwent surgery. She has spent more than 2 weeks in a hospital and will have to be there for the same number of weeks. I consider such behavior of the military is unacceptable. Minsk, evening of the 10th of August, you can see a group of military forces driving back the protesters with gunfire and flashbangs on the picture. Together with another journalist, we hid from the security forces on the balcony of the kind residents of the area. It was unsafe on the streets at the moment. It was completely incomprehensible what logic the security forces were guided by when detaining people. These photos show how the security forces were spotted in cars, public transport, and ambulances. They selectively took people out, wrung their hands, and put them to the Автозак police bus. My editor-in-chief was detained in that way. Fortunately, he was released 2 days later. Luckily, he was not beaten. The man kneels in front of the security forces. Periodically, people try to talk to the military and ask why they shoot civilians. After the military actions for forces, some young people began to behave more radically. The guys were building barricades. I even saw several Molotov cocktails. The photo shows one of the districts of Minsk. Garbage is left after the barricades were dismantled. Special forces receives instructions from the commander. Later, they will sketch around the courtyards and will catch the protesters at the entrances. Photos shows the detained people getting out of the isolation center, Pristina. Those who were arrested during the first few days of the protest told some shocking stories about the main things. They very severely beaten, not allowed to drink water, not fed, and morally abused. Some of the people from the isolation ward were transported by ambulances immediately to the intensive care units. Some of them still remain in hospital. The series of sad pictures ends up with a snapshot from the funeral of the first officially proved victim, Alexander Traikovsky. Many people associated the Belarusian electoral campaign with women. On the fourth day of protest, girls with flowers dared to go out into the streets. Their message for the security forces and the authorities was to stop the violence. At some point, crowds of people with flowers appeared on the streets of Minsk. They walked around the city all day long from morning until late at night. They were supported by motorists who expressed their protest with a signal. There was a feeling of celebration. A girl hugs a military on the picture. Girls respond to violence with love. Some of the protesters criticized the girls for this behavior. Everyone remembered how cruelly the police treated people. Later, the factory workers began joining the protesters. The workers also marched through the city. Some of the striking workers greet their colleagues who have decided to join the strike. On the seventh day of protest in Minsk, about 200,000 people took to the streets. This was called the March for Freedom. Many people. And people came with small children, with a dog. I would like to note that today is the 19th day of the protest movement in Belarus. During this time, at least few thousand people have been coming to the main square of Minsk every evening. Special thanks for the people who hit journalists and other people in their apartments during the harsh crackdown on the streets. In peaceful days of protest, good people were also helping each other. The photo shows the girl who led me and Oля and take a photo from the window of her apartment. The last 2 Sundays gathered a record number of protesters on the streets of Minsk. The first march for freedom took place without the military. During the second march, military men with weapons appeared on the streets. They have stretched the barbed wire around the Belarusian historical monument. Guys and girls are holding hands. They line up in front of the military with machine guns. By these protesters show that they are not ready to let in random provocators from the crowd. The actions of the security forces are completely unpredictable. It should be mentioned that none of the protesters smashed a single shop or window or damaged someone else's property during the protest. People clean up the trash and even take off their shoes when they stand on a bench. So, thank you.
Thank you very much, Nadia. Maybe, well, I know that you were arrested today and spent a few hours detained and only were released just very shortly before this event. Maybe you could just briefly tell about your experience, you know, what happened. If you need help with English, then let me know.
Можно я буду говорить по-русски, и кто-то переведет, я постараюсь коротко.
Okay.
Сегодня был какой-то акт задержки журналистов. Задержали около 50 журналистов и держали их...
Wait, I translate. So today was about 50 journalists were arrested at the same time, which is a kind of like simultaneous action.
С нами обращались удивительно вежливо.
So they were quite polite, you know, the forces.
Да. Но нас продержали около 3,5 часов. Это большой в комнате актовый зал местного отдела полиции. И мы были рады видеть все новых и новых наших друзей, коллег.
So they were detained for 3.5 hours in some kind of police quarters in a sports hall, and she was happy to see more and more colleagues coming in.
Когда нас по очереди начали отпускать, полиция попросила проверить, разблокировать телефон, чтобы посмотреть, какие фотографии или видео были сделаны. Это не совсем законно, потому что телефон — это личная собственность, и почему я должна кому-то разблокировать, показывать, удалять и так далее. И они...
So when the police was releasing them, they asked if they can check their mobile phones to see what kind of pictures they have on them. And of course, it's kind of also illegal.
Также они попросили посмотреть фотографии на камере, попросили их удалить и намекнули, что если я не удалю или не пойду с ними на диалог, моя камера может случайно упасть на пол и разбиться.
So they also asked to delete the pictures from the camera, and if she wouldn't cooperate, then they were suggesting that, you know, the camera might accidentally broke.
Вот. Ну, я решила, что и если я не удалю, я могу задержаться на неопределенное время в отделе полиции.
And if she wouldn't do, she could also get stuck in police office for quite some time.
Вот. Я решила пойти с ними на диалог, но я теперь переживаю за ребят, у которых нет аккредитации, или тот, кто решил не идти с ними на разговор. Я надеюсь, что всех отпустят сегодня вечером, но диалог с этими ребятами дал понять, что закон у нас не работает.
I may
к сожалению.
So yeah, she accepted the deal, so to speak, and deleted images so she could be released. But she, of course, she doesn't know what's going on with her colleagues who doesn't have accreditation.
Yes, and a few minutes ago, I had information that some of our colleagues who don't agree to show their smartphones, and they're still in a police building, and they're detained, and some of them had a card tomorrow, but nobody knows when and where.
Okay, I think this is the part where we could start our discussion. It's quite late, but hopefully we have a bit of time. And this is also where I asked Maxim Sarchao to join. Maxim and I are the ones who are organizing this event tonight. And yeah, maybe somebody could explain actually, the status of photojournalists in Belarus. You need those permits, so as I understand, you can't just have a camera and freely take pictures on the street. So what is kind of the system of actually working as a photojournalist in Belarus? Who could explain this to those who don't know?
I can try.
Okay.
So basically, you can make photos as a citizen, but when you started publishing these photos in media, you became a kind of a worker of media, and state want to control these ways where informations go. So right now it's very interesting situation when there are some medias which are legally registered, and these journalists and photographers who are working with this media, they are absolutely legal. So and there are many media who didn't have this state approval, and these journalists are kind of under the law. And many foreign medias also. This year, we have Ministry of Foreign Affairs, I guess it's called, and they didn't approve requests from international media to work in Belarus. So right now, around 50 journalists were arrested today, and it happened because authorities want to clear these journalists who works illegally and depart them or give them fines or put them to the jail. So we will see. Yeah, so basically it's quite unsafe situation for everyone, even for legal journalists to work on the streets, because we don't know what could happen next moment.
Is there some kind of division, between journalists? Let's say the ones who work for the state media and the ones who work for independent? Because you were talking about kind of unity, kind of attitude of people towards the journalists. But obviously, I'm sure that your ways cross at some events. So how do you? Is there some kind of who could talk about that? Your colleagues from state media, or are they your enemies, or I don't know. Do you have some communication at all? So Olga or Nadia or Tanya?
You mean state media which are governmental, which are pro-governmental?
Yes, because you probably at some point you attend similar events. Probably we don't see state media at opposition protests, but once you go to the state kind of supportive events, then obviously you meet also probably state media, also photojournalists who work for them.
Yeah, I can only guess that they are more safe. I'm not sure how they sign themselves, but for example, tonight there was a picture of a journalist from some Russian media, which supports Lukashenko and so on, and they were wearing orange jackets. Meanwhile, our press wears blue blue stuff, and these orange people could go everywhere, and police did not touch them.
So I would say that we do not meet mostly these pro-state journalists. At least me, maybe Oля, who works more often in fields, maybe she met them, but I don't know. But people are just protesters. Of course, they are aware of what is Russia today or what is Belarusian state television, and their reaction could be negative, like it was negative reaction in this pro-state meeting on Ola, right?
And how has attitude towards the photographers who work in the streets on all those events, how has it changed, during the past couple of weeks? There has been moments where you have maybe threatened, or now you maybe, perceived as a supporting force of opposition, for instance. How's that?
As for me, from time to time, I met one journalist. He works for government television, and when I saw this journalist before, they always work with a huge camera with
A tripod.
Tripod, yes. And you always know, okay, this is television. But now you may see the same journalist who work with a different operator with really small cameras, and they try to cover some protest. And this is really interesting. And also when I cover some pro-Lukashenko meetings, I see a lot of state journalists. They ask people a lot of questions, and also I saw Russia Today journalist, and most typical situation when journalists work with a camera without any logo of their companies. And also you may, from time to time, you may see some journalists from state companies and media, and they work without any badge, without any signs that they're press. But yes, sometimes they cover all kinds of events, but you don't know the context they will use for this video or photo.
Well, in this context, what do you think about the neutrality, kind of objectivity of a journalist?
I mean, it may be absolutely different sense of the events, because we have one case when we saw one pictures, one video, but the sounds is from different one. So they mix and try to show absolutely different situation on TV than in reality. And if you saw this for your eyes, it looks like crazy, because you know reality, and when you see a TV, you understand that absolutely different context.
No, what I also meant is maybe kind of your kind of attitude, your position, considering, it's probably hard to be kind of objective, kind of neutral in this position where, probably, you are fully emotionally involved, you know. So how do you handle that, you know, when, you know, you probably emotionally are also boiling while you are shooting? So I don't know, Olga or Tanya.
Yeah, sometimes it's really difficult to try to be neutral, but I understand that I should be. But you know, this is absolutely different atmosphere of this kind of events from opposition. They're more positive at all. You see a lot of happy people, and people respect you. And absolutely different situation when you go to pro-Lukashenko event and you don't see happy faces, you feel a lot of aggression. It's difficult to make a really happy pictures when you see so negative around you. What about others?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I would say that these days people at opposition meetings, they are not only happy to be there, but they are quite open to be photographed. So before all these events, people were kind of afraid of cameras and photographers and operators, and now they're open to be photographed and to give some comments and so on.
Well, and what Olga already was talking before about the usage of images, you know, have you had, you know, many cases where your images have kind of been misused, you know, where they have been given different context, or, you know, either captions that don't correspond then to the actual events? You know, what about fake news and your own experience?
No, I don't remember this. No, with my pictures.
Yeah, me neither. Not
Well,
yet.
that's great news. And also, like, how do you also feel about, you know, do you feel that photography, you know, matters? You know, this is something like, you know, when we look at the history of photojournalism, there have been events, you know, where photography, you know, could trigger certain, you know, events, you know, or help shape certain, you know, the way we see it, and also probably change something, you know. And of course, pictures is something that we have seen, and also, as we've seen from Olga's image, you know, the picture of ladies in the first row of protesters, which probably kind of symbolically also triggered, sort of say, you know, the concept of women in white, you know, and that kind of became also something like a common, what do you call, common thing that you see also a lot of ladies in the street. But how do you see, you know, about, you know, the how the images have been functioning and also helping, you know, actually the development of the events or the way we perceive it? Do you have something to say about the power of images?
Yeah, I think that images is really powerful, and especially in this time when you have a lot of video and other media, because as I think, picture is an image that you remember. It's easy to understand this kind of information, and I understand that some historical events I associate it with images, with pictures, and now maybe, yeah, we are really important, because who knows what will happen with video and text. I don't know, but yeah, I think that images is still have power.
Yeah, and I would add that as for me, it's getting quite more difficult to make photos, because I guess that we have so much information now. We have all the videos which different people share in Telegram. It's a very famous messenger here, and we have public channels, and everybody can say some videos, and everybody shares them, and that's why I guess it's getting more difficult to make some photo which becomes a symbol of something. Like, for example, Olga's photo of this women, it is really a symbol of women protest, and I guess the whole world has seen it. And maybe nowadays it is not so necessary to make a lot of photos of one event, but it's very important to make one photo of the event that everybody will know, and it's quite difficult to make that photo.
And maybe you never know which image will be most representative.
Yeah, because when you are in the moment, as for me, everything is very impressive, and it's just getting quite difficult to concentrate on something, because in those protests there are a lot of emotions and a lot of things are going on.
I also want to add, I was also photographing the protests in the beginning, especially, and I was asking myself, is it should I be there or not? And usually, when some protests happens, they're quite concentrated in one place or few places, and there are a lot of photographers. And that's why we see quite similar images from different photographers, but they're quite similar. And in this case, I feel that there are no sense to be here, to be one of, I don't know, 20 photographers. But the interesting situation happened on 9 and 10 and 11 of August, when this huge wave of violence happened. The scene was that protest was dispersed. It was not concentrated in one place, and it was physically impossible by photographers to document what was happening. And right now I see like a puzzle of different photographers who were in different places of Minsk and country in these crucial days. And I'm trying to combine their visual documents in one picture, trying to understand what was going on there. And from this point of view, all what we have seen, I think it's real treasures for all Belarusians to understand what happened in these first days of this protest wave.
Have you had a situation when you feel that your life has been threatened? You know, that you are kind of stepping on the edge, on being in a moment where, you know, it's like something really bad could happen, but you want the image, you know, so you are kind of risking yourself.
Yeah, it happened to me on August 10 when I was shooting those people with weapon and who were throwing grenades. And when I came there to make a photo, I was defended, and it was quite terrifying. And now I have to take meds for a month to make this noise in my ear disappear. And if these meds do not cure me, this noise will stay with me forever. And sometimes I think whether those photos were worse of this health damage.
What about Olga or Nadia? Nadia, are you there?
Yeah, I'm there.
Тебе нужен перевод?
Немножко перевод и немножко просто я уже потерялась.
Вопрос ли был ли момент, когда ты себя чувствовала в опасности, но все-таки решила рисковать, чтобы получить снимок?
Наверное, меня очень испугал момент, когда выстрелили в мою коллегу-журналистку. Это было на второй день протеста. И с того момента я, правда, очень испугалась, и мне не стыдно говорить про то, что я решила держаться немножко на безопасном расстоянии. Вот, поэтому мы выбрали точки для съемки какие-то, чтобы хотя бы что-то было видно, то, что происходит на улице, одновременно не рисковать. Ну, да, мне было, наверное, страшно. Не могу сказать, что я рисковала. Ну, то есть первый день, так как было непонятно, в принципе, что происходит, когда ты не ожидаешь того, что может кто-то стрелять или может что-то взрываться там под твоими ногами, ты это делаешь просто интуитивно. Так, когда уже до меня дошло, что вот это все по-настоящему, это действительно приносит травмы людям, и были жертвы, после этого как-то немножко отдалилось. То есть я, наверное, для себя поняла, что я вряд ли была бы военным фотографом.
So I will do a translation. So Nada was telling that, of course, on the first day she was doing the way she's usually doing, but after she saw how her colleague was shot, she became more careful and trying to choose more safer positions so she could not be either shot or be harmed. And she also says that she doesn't think she could be a war photographer. So yeah. What about Maxim?
Yeah, I want to add that no one from participants had this experience of covering some situations which are close to war situations. So it was unexpected for everyone. And for me, also on the first day, it was like a game with this police staying with, and it was more tactical game. With camera, I was detached and separated from situation. It gives me some false feeling of security. But this feeling went out, gone very quickly when police started going on protesters, and I was with protesters. And at this moment, I didn't think that I'm a journalist or and that I have some protection from police. And in this moment, I, of course, felt unsafe and I just ran away. And that's why I'm really looking on your girls' images, just don't understanding how you did it. How did you felt safe when you were capturing this or not? So because for me, it was absolutely unsafe situation when I'm trying to imagine myself near in a places where you did it. So briefly asking a question, for me, safety and security is first place, second place is image. So I am able to run quite quickly.
And as for Olga, did you have any situations?
Yeah, as I told, I have my first horrible situation. It was on the third evening of protest. And yeah, I understand that as a journalist, as a professional, I should be alive to bring my picture to my media, to save my lives. So I understand that I don't need to go on the center of something dangerous. But sometimes it happens near, and you can go away. For the first day, I feel pretty safe, but later, yes, when I know about shooting on Nadia colleague, I understand that, yeah, it may be dangerous. So a few days ago, we ran away with Nadia to the safety place on a meeting, on a line of protest between riot police and people near the palace of Lukashenko. So we decided that now it's a lot of strange black men in black, and we need to go away to a more safety place. Yeah, it's I think it's normal when you're scared. Yeah.
What is your feeling how the protests have evolved, and where are they leading to? What's your kind of feeling what will happen in the next weeks?
Nobody knows. It's absolutely unpredictable. From time to time, we understand that, okay, a few days we work in a pretty safe situation, but when you see a lot of police on the street and a lot of petty vegans, you understand that it may two signs that this is for make scared for people, or they decided to pick up a journalist or people and put there on prison. It's difficult, nobody knows, and I don't know what's happened. I don't know what will be tomorrow. I just know that my friend, he is still in the police office, and tomorrow we will have a jail. So it's really a crazy situation.
What about others? Any feeling of how it is evolving, the protests and
Yeah, it's really, nobody knows what happens. I can only believe that people will not stop, because it is impossible to stop all this wave of support. Yeah, and it will never be like before, but nobody knows what does it mean, whether we live in a free country or we live in worse conditions.
Надя, какие твои предсказатели на будущее? Что будет завтра?
Я не знаю, каждый раз, когда я выхожу на улицу, я беру с собой шлем, защитные очки, потому что у меня, ну, наверное, у меня осталась вот эта травма в момент, когда я просто снова повторюсь, подстрелили мою коллегу, потому что тогда не предвещало ничего таких жестких действий со стороны силовиков. Все было очень мирно, и максимум, на что я могла рассчитывать, это автозак с ОМОНом и дубинками. Но стрелять, это, по-моему, был перебор. И теперь я не верю, вообще не верю силовикам. И пока, мне кажется, не глобально что-то не поменяется, не произойдет каких-то глобальных перемен, мы будем бояться выходить на улицы, работать в страхе, думать про то, что тебя могут всегда задержать. Такое.
So yeah, briefly, and Nadia was telling that since her friend was shot, she couldn't trust security forces anymore, that she could feel safe. So every day she walks out, she doesn't know what to expect. So she's wearing helmet and protective glasses, goggles. But yes, I guess nobody can tell about the future. And yeah, it's been a late hour. I guess we can probably, go to the final question. I don't know. A final question, of course, maybe it's a different context, but I think everybody at least would want to know, what about COVID? We see a lot of people, is that out of the news in Belarus completely?
We believe that our government has not been given us true information about COVID since its beginning. So we don't know particularly how many people are sick now. And as for me, all these election topics are more important to people than COVID now. I guess everybody just forgot about that. Though there are lots of people with masks and those who use antiseptic, but in general, as for me, it is not the point to people now.
Choosing between dictatorship and COVID, Belarusians choose COVID.
Yeah.
Well, well, I guess we could call it a day or night. Yeah. Well, I want to say very big thanks to you all, for sharing your time, sharing your work, sharing your stories. I know you're very busy. This is also the reason why we are doing this so late. I also want to thank all the supporters who donated this evening. We have actually quite a few. So big thanks to them as well. And yes, well, keep strong, keep doing your work. We want to see your images, and let's hope, it also helps changing the world for better. So yeah. Thanks a lot, everyone. Yeah. Good night.
Thank you.
Ciao. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.